Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, this is Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Welcome to the rabbit hole. Um, and this show today, it seems a little bit like Gen X. What's next, Gen X? You guys are kind of old now, aren't you? Just entering your, most some early 60s, in your 50s, and I think we might even touch 70. I'm not sure. I think most people put Gen X around 64 to 80. So I guess 64 would be, late 60s at least. But anyway, so why do I think Gen X is next? Well, let me read off some names here, okay? I looked this. I didn't know some of these were Gen X, but let's just say that some of them were a little bit surprising. All right, so these are Gen Xers, famous Gen Xers. Let me read some of them. All right, Eminem, Gwen Stefani. I'm not sure why those two were tops, but Nev Campbell from the Scream franchise. Kurt Cobain, of course. He was Gen X. Elon Musk is Gen X. Robert Downey Jr. and Charlie Sheen. Shakira. Kobe Bryant, Mike Tyson. And Jonathan Brandis was Gen X. R.I.P. Mariah Carey. Tupac Shakur. Shania Twain. Shaggy. Steffi Graf was Gen X. That surprised me. But she started so young, I guess it makes sense that she's Gen X. Will Smith, don't claim. We don't claim him. J.K. Rowling, Ronaldo, a great soccer star. Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, don't claim him either. And ahead of time, we don't claim Zelensky and we don't claim the dude from up north. Tom Brady, we do claim, however. Linus Torvalds, the guy who created the Linux system. Julius Assange, we definitely claim Julius Assange. Sinead O'Connor, R.I.P. Jennifer Lopez, we don't claim. Rodney King, I didn't know he was Gen X. I guess he must have been pretty young. Nicole Kidman, we do claim. Dwayne Johnson, Usher, depending on what the Diddy files show up, whether we claim him or not. Faith Hill, Lisa Marie Presley, R.I.P. Jennifer Anderson, Michael Dell of Dell Computers, Paul Walker, Janet Jackson. We do claim Miss Jackson. We definitely claim her. Chris Martin, depending on which album. 50 Cent, we claim. Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, depending on which Kanye. Jason Statham, we definitely claim. Okay. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, we do not claim at all. Didn't know he was Gen X. Gabriella Sabatini, we definitely claim Gabriella. Another tennis star. Julia Roberts, claim. Tiger Woods is Gen X. There you go. Lance Armstrong, don't claim. Don't claim Lance, but, in his day, he was pretty impressive. Daniel Craig, not really. Don't really claim Daniel. Drew Barrymore, we do claim. Wow, she started young. I didn't realize she was Gen X. Matthew Perry was Gen X. RIP. Notorious B.I.G. Gen X. Kylie Minogue, Lucy Lawless. Snoop Dogg. Monica Lewinsky, Gen X. Of course she was. Anyway, Alanis Morissette, Gen X. Ewan McGregor, don't really claim him anymore. To Liv Tyler, yeah, definitely claim Liv. Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Schumacher, Adam Sandler, Melania Trump, claim, definitely. Angelina Jolie and Celine Dion, both Gen X, claim. Jay-Z, depending on the Diddy files. But I don't really claim him myself. River Phoenix was Gen X, bless his heart, RIP. Tanya Harding was Gen X. Bashir al-Assad. Yeah, no. Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio, Gen X. Tim McGraw, also Gen X. Aaron Paul. Cameron Diaz, Floyd Mayweather Jr., one of the greatest boxers of all time. Definitely Gen X. Heath Ledger was Gen X. Timothy McVeigh's on the list, but we don't claim him. Vanilla Ice, Puff Daddy, Nelly, Robbie Williams, Charlize Theron, Jeremy Renner, Christian Bell, Justin Trudeau, the other I told you earlier, not claimed. Reese Witherspoon, Martina Hingis, another tennis star. We had some hell of hellacious tennis stars, man. Amy Fisher, don't claim. Don't claim Amy Fisher. John Cena, depending. Carmen Electra, Rachel Wise, Andre Agassi, definitely claim. Another hellacious tennis star. Robin White. We were the hell of tennis class, man. Christopher Nolan and Rosamund Pike. Definitely claim. That's just the top 100 of the list, but it goes on. I could keep going. But that's just like out of notoriety. Some of those people are infamous, but anyway, got a couple comments over here. Let me see what we got. Oh, ready? StreamYards is being slow. Where are my comments at, StreamYards? Come on. Follow them up. Sorry, folks. On my own here. Comments. Come on. Where they at? Ah, there we are. Cruel. What's up, dude? Hey, man. I'm 47 going on 147. I'm late Gen X. 1977, just in there, no more. Yeah, 80 is usually the cutoff, so you barely got in there. How's it going, everyone? Hey, John. Either you guys want to come in and hang out and be Gen X a little while, let me know. I'll send you a link. But I found this really interesting article off a New York Post, and it says Gen X is running the world and nobody even realized it. Anyway, I'll read that in a minute. But there's a reason why I this clip kind of sums up where I think Gen X is. Here we go.
Father, the sleeper has awakened!
Alrighty. Well, I'm seeing a really interesting phenomenon happening. In that they call us the forgotten generation or the silent generation or the Latchkey Kids, and for the most part, we have been. We have been kind of the slacker generation, we have been kind of like the apathetic ones. We are the last feral kids that were raised practically outdoor, tending fending for ourselves. We pretty much raised each other. There's a lot of comedy online of Gen Xers kind of like talking about our upbringing with apathetic, disinterested parents who basically left us to our own devices for the most part. Including one guy that was trying to say that as Gen X, we didn't drink early. What are you talking about? That we didn't never do that. He couldn't keep a straight face. Anyway, I think he's been sarcastic. Pretty sure. WEF Savages. What's up, WEF Patsy? It's a Gen X thing. You wouldn't understand. Just saying. Better than being left with TikTok and YouTube to raise you. Yeah. Granted. So anyway, so basically, but the thing that Gen X had, better than any generation before, and certainly any generation after, was we had pop culture like you wouldn't believe. Everywhere. We were spoiled with it, okay? And all the cartoons led into the toy lines, led into the movies, back into the toys, back into the writing was there. You could pick up books that were just awesome. Harry Potter, started in our generation. And we just had the best pop culture of anybody. We were there for Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars hit during Gen X while we were kids, and continued up through the middle 80s. Whether you want to claim the prequels or not is entirely up to you. But we had the trilogy. We had the trilogy. Okay, and a second. I'm 45. Well, I guess you're Gen X, my friend, or at least you're right there on it. Pretty close. I actually coined the term Gen X. Yeah. All right. Okay. MTV actually played music. Yeah, we were there for music on MTV. We were there when they actually Three's Company's beginning of the slippery slope. I hear you. We had to hit the best stuff. We had incredible pop culture. I mean, everything that people talk about now, is vintage or everybody's like wanting to like revisit stuff. Have you noticed all these movies that they're renovating, that they're bringing up, they're from way, 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 way back, are all Gen X. All happened during Gen X and in our childhood and youth. Beetlejuice, that was early 90s. That's Gen X. Top Gun just came back 2 or 3 years ago now, and that was a Gen X. So I mean, when I say we had the best stuff, all three Back to the Future movies, Gen X. Okay. So there's nothing new under the sun. Well, there was, but we had it. Anyway, all these people that are now old and decrepit and kind of like revisiting their stuff, we had peak John Carpenter. Okay. The Godfather movies all happened during Gen X. I mean, these people are at their peak. Spielberg was putting out stuff. The Indiana Jones stuff came out during Gen X. We had WWF. Yeah, and WWE. They call it the Attitude Era, which a lot of people consider the pinnacle. Which when WCW and WWE were going at it, and they were trying to outdo each other, and they were swapping the best wrestlers back and forth. That was during Gen X. W Patsy says Shannon Tweed was Gen X. Yep, she was definitely Pamela Anderson. Baywatch. We were talking about sex symbols, man. We had them. Now I say all that to say this: what that did was that gave us a sense of contentment. It allowed us to kind of like have an extended childhood, and allowed us to kind of like ignore the world in general. The world was swimming along, you know. Ronald Reagan was in office for a lot of the 80s, and the wall came down. So the Cold War supposedly ended, you know, and we just, things were just going along quite swimmingly. Okay. And we were responsible for Bill Clinton coming into office. So, you know, we just wanted to get rid of the old stodgy guy. And there's this like hip guy playing saxophone on Arsenio. And we thought he was cool. We did. We thought he was cool. And you know, we're kind of responsible for that. Sorry. But anyway, because he's a package deal. Along with him came Hillary. But you know, for the most part, we were just swimming along in this tide of just great content in about all levels of society. Okay. You know, we had incredible comic books, man. Incredible comic books. Now, we didn't have any television or movies that were all that good. You know, the Incredible Hulk series kind of like you know, kind of petered out in the mid 80s, but you know, they gave us you know, cut rate Daredevil, cut rate Thor. We did have an amazing Spider-Man series that didn't last long, but it really holds up. You know, the special effects aren't there, but you know, it really kind of holds up. I still dig it to this day. You know, the Batman movie came out with the Tim Burton version of Batman came out, and you know, deteriorated pretty quick. But you know, into what it became. But we just had good stuff. Okay, we just had good stuff. Our throwaway stuff, our stuff that we didn't really pay much attention to, that was like dross, you know, things like Monster Squad or things like that, are now like lauded as like, and they've got like these fanatical followings and things like that, and it's like our throwaway stuff, our ephemeral children's movies, and like a never-ending story, you know, are now like classics that young people these days will watch and say, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" You know, why didn't I know about this? Ghostbusters. I keep trying to recreate Ghostbusters, and this is the magic of everything. And if you didn't live during those times, you can't really explain it to people. And I keep trying to recreate that. And I keep trying to take people back there. Never ending story that ended. No, it didn't. No, Bastion had many like, you know, adventures. It didn't exactly. The books were a lot darker than the movie was. A lot darker. But you know, the thing about this though is, you know, between the He-Mans, Master of the Universe, you know, Silverhawks and things like that, and you know, Master or Sheriff, was it Marshall Bravestar was one of my favorites. But between all that, you know, all this incredible culture, we kind of like, we got complacent. Okay. We kind of went to sleep, and we didn't like do our own creation that much. Action Force, no, I'll have to look it up. But we didn't really do a lot of creation. We didn't really do a lot of our own writing, our own IPs. We pretty much like just became fandom, you know. G.I. Joe. Yeah, I definitely know what G.I. Joe was. Definitely. Transformers, G.I. Joe, yep. Just awesome. But during the middle of that, We even had our first anime. The first anime came over, Robotech, G-Force, things like that, which were like repackagings of animes. Voltron was a repackaged anime. But we didn't really do our own creation. We didn't really push the envelope ourselves. We kind of just became passive fans of everything. Terminator will be living soon. Yep, coming up. But what happened was, because of that, we didn't really participate. And one of our nicknames is the Forgotten Generation. And I've seen so many countdowns that actually skip baby boomers straight to millennials. They group us in with millennials. And we are just so distinctive from, the Zennials are really similar to us, the early 80s. Those guys, they're more like Gen X than they are the later. But I remember looking at that next generation in the 90s and going, "Oh my God, we're screwed." And it turns out I was right. The millennials have been a disaster, and we won't talk about Gen Z yet. Anyway, so we kind of got out of it. Didn't really participate. We weren't really into politics. We weren't really into agitating for things, And along the way, there was some speed bumps. We kind of did rise up a little bit after the crash in 2008. Kind of had the Tea Party kind of came up, and then it got ruined. But people like Andrew Breitbart showed up. Rush Limbaugh was there, the lone voice in the wilderness, and here comes Andrew Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart's young, well-educated, rich, and he was the one. Politics, what's that? I've never heard of it. Right, that's us. That's Gen X right there. But he was a Gen X voice that basically said that we're gonna have to fight for this. We're gonna have to fight, and politics is downstream from culture, and they control the reins of culture right now, and we need to fight for it, or we're going to lose it. And he said that mid-90s, and then suddenly a perfectly healthy man dropped dead of a heart attack in California. Why the hell he was still in California? Your guess is as good as mine. But he left behind this brand new conservatism that of a younger conservatism, a branch of Gen X conservatism that that's basically become the biggest voices in the movement today. Joe Rogan, by the way, Gen X. Anyway, but basically what's going on, what's happened is they did, and what he said came true. That they got control of the culture, and they drove it straight into the wall, and the politics followed, and then suddenly, it's been well documented. Early 2010s is when it really started happening. We started seeing one by one, the IPs started falling. The quality fell off, and suddenly there's messaging and everything. And, the Star Wars people will always point to KK coming in, and then everything going, get rid of the EU, and it all going to crap. And, well, they did all this. And the most galling thing about it, and they said this, they did all this to get to Gen Alpha and Gen Z. And most of the people that did it were the millennials. So most of the millennials took over everything with the conjunction with the boomers who were still holding the reins of power, still are to these days. Most of the CEOs are boomers. And they'd skipped over Gen X, completely discounted us, and tried to go straight to Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And they thought they were way more woke than Gen X is. And they just wrote us all off as MAGA. They wrote us all off as being irrelevant because we're the smallest generation post-war. We're around 60 million, about 60, 65 million of us. And so how's that going? Well, not very well. Anyway, so what happened was something very, very interesting. But this right here.
Father, the sleeper has awakened!
Well, without the pablum of the pop culture that we grew up on, without the distraction of the fandoms that we had ensconced ourselves, without those things, we suddenly were in the world. We're suddenly they wouldn't leave us alone. They screwed with us. They screwed with our pop culture. They screwed with everything we loved. And they told us we're irrelevant. That you're the forgotten generation, just needs to be forgotten. You guys just need to shut up and go away into obscurity, and we'll just forget that you guys were ever there. And for the most part, we were allowing that to happen by history itself. For the most part, we kind of like were in our own little world. But then they crashed the moon into that little world and destroyed that little world. And suddenly we're here. Suddenly we're out in the world. All the things we were using to distract ourselves from the god-awful childhood that we had was gone. And suddenly we had to grow up. And we're out here. We're out in the world. We're out, we're concerned now. Things are affecting us. Things are messing with our reality. And so the feral generation, the Latchkey Kids, the ones who kind of like saw to themselves and took care of themselves and pretty much raised each other. Suddenly we're looking at each other and we're like, are you pissed off? Yeah, I'm pissed off. I'm actually feeling feelings now. My FAFO has been triggered, and I think it's time that we get concerned. I think it's time that we stop, going, I don't care, and start caring. They made us start caring. And what's been the result of that? Has been really interesting. They told us to F off, so we did, and now they can't make money. Oh, dear Lord. Right. So, all right. That point needs to be made. So, we were pumping up pop culture with our dollar. That extended childhood that we had, one of the only thing that kept us from collecting stuff was the fact that our parents, well, we got other things we need to buy. And so once we got out into the world and once we had our own money, we started buying up everything that we missed. I mean, look at John's long box. Look what's behind him. He's Gen X. Look at Gary from Nerdrotics. Look at behind him. He's Gen X. We were collectors. Hey, what's up, RJ? We were the collectors. We were the fandom. We kept us the lights on in a lot of cases. And they told us to go away. So we did. And then suddenly they're looking around. This ESG money dries up finally after all the damage is done. And they're looking around, and all these people they sent out into the cold due to CRT and DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, white male Estelle. Most of those white males were Gen X. And so they sent them all out the door. And thinking that they had this modern audience they could get a hold of. And yet the modern audience doesn't buy, doesn't collect, and doesn't subsidize. We do. And so when they sent us out the door and we went away and we closed our wallets, took it with us, suddenly they found out that maybe Gen X, they were quiet. Gen X was quiet. Gen X was unconcerned, but Gen X paid for stuff. Gen X bought stuff. Gen X had fan groups to stir up excitement for stuff. And so by trying to circumvent Gen X, go straight to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, the millennials made a big grave error. And that is that generation that they discounted and walked past happened to be the backbone of pop culture. Because we were there when it was written. We were who it was written for. Okay? And so when they walked by us and tried to go straight to this next generations, they completely, totally foobarred their own funding source. So the they destroyed the foundation of what was built and wonder why it's falling down around their ears. Yeah, I gotta play this. Definitely. Here it is.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Oh man. Okay. Now, it sounds like I'm gilding the lily a little bit. That I'm building up. I'm like building up this generation, and this little $65 million generation. The baby boomers decided that they didn't want to have kids, and abortion was new, and so they started having abortions at record rates, and suddenly and so the Gen X was a smaller generation. It just happens to be a smaller generation. However, it's the generation that is most self-sufficient. It's a generation that is self-motivated, and that's a generation that basically is pretty much like the first generation of Americans. Don't tread on me. No taxation without representation. Gen X is the closest to the original, the ones that built this country, who just basically said, no, I'm sorry. I don't like that. I'm not going to support it. And leave me alone. So what happened was, by waking up that quiet generation, waking up the forgotten generation, and motivating them. I have never seen my generation be motivated before. We are not a motivated bunch. Okay, not motivated by hardly anything. And for the most part, you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. That's pretty much the attitude. But they didn't leave us alone. They didn't leave us alone. And so we started getting concerned. We started getting interested. We started walking away from, or waking up from the lethargy. And now the battle is well and truly joined. And you've got this whole group of people who basically had cut down fights until somebody cried. The whole generation where the parent says, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. Go out and I don't want to see you till the street lights come on. Or, go home after school and lock yourself in because the white vans are circling, First generation to live essentially independent of the parents, independent of the teachers. We just basically kept to ourselves, and now we can't do that anymore. And so I'm starting to see what my generation looks like. I'm starting to see the shape of this group of people who have been so apathetic and been so quiet and been so unconcerned and have been so unmotivated that it was hard to get the shape of them. It's hard to like figure out just what their personality is. We haven't really had a personality before, because generations are usually like they have like some attribute to them that you can point to. The silent generation, the greatest generation, the baby boomers. They're very distinctive. Kind of like who they were. The millennials have been very distinctive, and Gen Z has been very distinctive. Gen Alpha is starting to show their colors. And but Gen X really has been this amorphous mass, kind of like right stuck in the middle, this black hole in the middle of the generations, where it's like, oh well, baby boomers, and oh yeah, this group, and then millennials. They would always do that. It'd be like, yeah, the Gen X guys. Yeah, there's some Gen Xers, but let's go straight to millennials. Let's go straight to the participation trophy generation. Who didn't see that shit coming? Okay. Who didn't see that coming? Okay. But we're here now. We're here now. We're in the world. We're concerned. We're participating. Look at all the major podcasters. Look at when they were born and get back to me. You'll find most of them were born between 64 and 80. Most of the really big ones, the ones that are really making an impact, the ones that are changing discourse, are usually born between 64 and 80. Or right after that, mid 80s to middle, kind of like 80 to about 88 or so. The Zennials, we claim them. They might as well be Gen X. They're just like us. So we claim them. But what this all means is The future is really starting to take shape. You know, where we're going from here. Most of the politicians that are about to gain a lot of power are from 64 to 80. Most of the movies, the people that are coming up that are really making some waves, the people in the podcasting space, the people that are starting to dominate the conversation, most of those are this generation. They're either that or just right after us, the Xennials. And it's like because you took our toys away, we're like starting to mature, starting to grow up, starting to leave that extended childhood behind. And we're here now. And I think we're just starting to get an idea of what that's going to look like. Anyway, so I think that Gen X is going to be what's next. I think my generation, it's almost like they're brand new. It's almost like they matured. You know, you always have that late bloomer. You know, you always have that person that early on they're a disaster. Most of their 20s they're a disaster. In the 30s they're pretty much a disaster. But then around in 40, 50, somewhere in there, they suddenly hit their stride. And it's like they've been saving it all up for that 40s and 50s. And then suddenly they're relevant. And this has happened. This happens over and over again. You see these people, it takes them like decades to get it all together. To figure out who they are, to figure out what their niche is, to start like gathering themselves together and starting to make an impact. And I'm seeing a whole generation where that's happening. I'm real excited. I'm excited for it. And I think what's next is Gen X. I think we're up to bat. And I'm really excited to see what we're going to do. Are we going to bunt? Are we going to swing away? Or take a walk? I don't know. I really don't know. With my generation, all three possibilities are on the table. They're either going to knock it out of the park or they're going to be get disinterested again. Motivation might dry up. They might just completely, totally go back into their coma. You know, when the pop culture turns around and we start getting stuff again that's worth our attention, worth watching, they may just go back into their coma. They may just go back to their warm blanket, call it a day. What I'm hoping is going to happen is I hope they're going to start making their own pop culture. Because they've got in their brains the best pop cultures ever existed. And they can put it out there for the next generations. And they can be the trendsetters. They can be the pace setters. They can change everything. But are they going to be motivated? If things come back around and start going our way again and we start getting stuff that's worth our time, we might just go back curl back into a ball. I don't know. But I don't think there's going to be an in-between. When you're young, you think you know it all. You don't. You're an a-hole, and one gains wisdom along the way. One hopes. One would hope. I really think Andrew Breitbart had it. I really think he did. I really think that he saw the promise of his generation, and he gave us the tools to the roadmap. And RIP to him. But let me read this article. Let me read at least the last bit of it. Okay. Millennials trying to claim 90s era hip hop icons as their own is patently absurd, of course. Not only were all the performers, except for Lamar, Gen Xers by age, the previous halftime show, but they were making records when most millennials were in kindergarten. It'd be like Gen Xers trying to claim Bruce Springsteen as one of their own because he released Born in the USA when they're in high school. Not claimed. But Gen Xers are used to being ignored or forgotten. When we get credit, it's for being outsiders. Coronavirus, quarantine, when 2020 headline raved, Gen X was made for this. But we're mostly dismissed as failures. As the New York Times noted in 2019, Gen X is a mess. As it turns out, the opposite is true. We've been slowly taking over culture for years. 2022 is shaping up to be a big year for Gen X nostalgia, from the reboots of Scream, Party Down, Jurassic Park, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, to Return of Boba Fett, and Gen X comedy titans like Kids in the Hall, Mr. Show with Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. This is an old article from 2 years ago. But this isn't about nostalgia. Gen Xers aren't looking to navel gaze at our past. We're celebrating our cultural victories. I think there's a quiet confidence in our generation that we were right all along, says John Moe, Gen X writer and host of the podcast Depresh Mode. Artists like Rage Against the Machine, Pavement, Fugees, The Lemonheads, Bikini Kill have all reunited or touring this year to celebrate, in some cases, play their entirety, their 90s era albums. Even Rent, that most Gen X and Broadway musicals, taking a 25th anniversary farewell tour. These iconic albums are our trophies for getting everything right. So to go see them play live is a photo album, a trophy case, and a quiet shambling victory lap through history. Let me skip to the end here. All right. Gen Xers aren't actually the forgotten middle children that the media often makes us out to be. In 2022 alone, the biggest pop culture stories are whether David Chappelle, 48 years old, as opinions are too controversial, if Joe Rogan, 54, should be canceled, if Tom Brady should retire, why Kanye West is having a public meltdown over his wife dating a millennial. For so-called forgotten generation, the world surely does talk about us a lot. The truth is, we have Kaiser Sosa'd the world. We were running the whole show and nobody realized. And yes, I'm referring to The Usual Suspects, a movie written by Christopher McQuarrie, 53, directed by Bryan Singer, 56, by Gen Xers. To paraphrase Sosa'd's most famous line, the greatest trick Generation X ever pulled was convincing the world we don't exist. So I should have just gone for that last line. So we're here now. When you're young, okay, I already seen that. Okay, well, I don't know if we're going to continue on this pathway. I don't know. I see all these pop culture commentary sites, commentary shows, and they're always talking about old news. They're always talking about IPs and how they're being destroyed. But I don't see them really talking about the new stuff. I don't see them talking about independent. I don't see them really putting their stake down. And if pop culture recovers, shows some signs of life, I don't know if they just won't turn around and give up the birthright for the pot of food. Sorry, Jacob Esau. Look it up. But I don't know that we're going to continue being interested. I don't know if we're going to continue making an impact. I don't know if we just won't, become the autistic kid in the corner again. I don't know. All I do know is right now, right here, at this moment in time, I think Gen X is finally coming to their own, and they're about to rule this shit. Okay. And so the I don't care generation is suddenly caring. And the forgotten generation is starting to remember. And the people that have been passed over are suddenly becoming undeniable. Where that goes, I don't know. But I'm here for it. And I am Gen X. So hopefully I can make my own impact. I think right now I'm probably on the track. I think I'm finally figuring out the direction my life should take. I'm finally figuring out my where I'm going from here. And after years of being apathetic, after years of being in the wilderness, trying to find my way, I finally have clarity. Finally understand why I am here. And I think that's a journey a lot of my fellow generation has taken. And we'll see. Anyway, that's been Coop from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Thank you to Fluffiest Chat and all of YouTube for riding shotgun with me. I've got a link pinned. That is my friend Belmont Perez's shield show. It's about to start. I would go over there and check it out. I plan on showing some brand new art that I haven't showed before, and going to have a good time. So hopefully you'll follow us. Like I said, the link is pinned in the chat, and we'll see you over there. But till then, y'all have a good day, and follow the White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.